First mile run. See, as we already know, every business that we see today, which has grown into miles and huge, has started very small someday. So from that small start, it has effectually grown into the universe and become the big businesses of today. In the same way, every idea that comes to us starts with an invention or a discovery. And that's all the results of the first experiments we establish to understand the trends. And that's where it takes to be a monetization of the idea. In the same way, the essence of a startup is always to make a start and look up to the growth. So this is basically the concept of first mile run, and this is what we have to focus on every idea to undergo this process of first mile run to take it to a next stage and grow into the universe. So welcome, let's go and explore all the different steps we have to take for the first mile run. Let me bring out this very first slide. Typically, every startup or every founder, when they get an idea, they make a start, and definitely they do a lot of things. Let's look at only the first 10 steps. So if you logically assemble all the 10 steps, assuming every other step is incremental of the previous one, then we actually get a kind of stairs that one can actually cross over to make to the success. And this is how it looks like, right? And if you actually look at, so this is exactly the way every founder starts, or most of the founders starts. Like they take the steps 1, 2, step by step, and over every step they try to do some kind of incremental activity, and then they try to reach the final stage of idea or the business, or if it's a service industry, then you establish yourself as an expert in that service that you've started. So this is typically a kind of flow that we will do. Now, why first mile run? If you focus on the picture, there are two things I would like to highlight. One first important aspect is like most of the times when founders try to take the steps of 1 to 10 in defining their startup, they are always carried away by something called I know everything, or I do things at my own time. I know I don't need funding right now. I'll get to the funding when I require. I'm happy. I have my budget. I have a strong team. I have my strong focus. My product is stronger. I have a lot of good understanding on the market. I'm great on the competition. So this is typically the I know kind of an attitude. Most of the time, founders exhibit in the process of taking the steps, or the first 10 steps in the process of creating their idea. And the second important aspect you have to understand is like after the 10th step, that's where the idea is created, but it is not supported by anything. So there's a lot of vacuum. So we rush into the idea, we take the 10 steps with the I know everything kind of an attitude. We create the idea in the market, or we start the business, or we become an expert for what we have started. But eventually, there is vacuum because we have not started with some kind of things that are required, and a mentor only can help to achieve those things. So that's why it is very important to understand the first 10 steps, so that when you do your idea, you're not standing on vacuum. What is a typical situation of this when your idea and when you're standing on a vacuum? The typical situation can be illustrated like this. Your idea is good, but you don't get customers. Your idea is good, but you don't get funding. Your idea is good, but you don't get sales. Your idea is good, but you don't get that appreciation from the customers. Your idea is great, but you only lose money. You are not gaining money. So these are the typical situations of the scenario of what the slide is depicting, where you started a business, you have done everything like I know everything kind of an attitude or approach, and you have created the idea, but it's in vacuum. And that is why we need to understand the first mile run very clearly. And every step towards your startup and making it has to create a tangible base. And that's where it can actually grow to the 10th step, where you reach the 10th step, then you already have some business or you have some connect with the business. So this is typically the first mile run is. Now let's explore the first mile run. What are the 10 steps? So let's understand. It's very clear. The problem statement is very clear now. Like there are 10 steps that we need to take to stabilize the business, but at this moment we don't know. So let's have a quick tour to understand what are the 10 steps we have to take care before we launch our idea or we launch it. Let's start with the very first one. The first very most important step is apply the magic circle to whatever you think you are going to do in your startup or your business or your idea or whatever it is. Apply the magic circle, because the magic circle gives you a guideline of verification of the idea as well as validation of the idea, so that you arrive at a problem statement, because that is what the most important thing an idea has to be translated to. Idea can be anything, but there should be a problem statement for which you will work and you build the business. Eventually you find a solution for that, right? So the magic circle says this: why is that your idea is to be unique? Why is that someone needs your idea? Or why is that something like this startup has to happen? Second, how you think this idea is going to be unique? How or the startup can be different? Third, what is this idea finally, and what the startup is going to do? So these are the first three important questions. When you brainstorm, and when you come to a conclusion, that's nothing but your problem, right? Let me take an example here. Like I want to do something like e-commerce. Why e-commerce? Why is that we have to do e-commerce? Because e-commerce is very good and it can give a lot of opportunities. No, that doesn't define. You have to really go back to the fundamentals of why you need to do e-commerce. E-commerce can give a platform to a lot of business, a lot of traders who can go and trade and can make money from that. So that is why you want to do, right? Now, what is that you will be different, and how you would like to do it? You would like to do it more like an app, or like an aggregator, or like a, what exactly you want to try to do? So that's the second how part. And the last part is what. So what is that you're going to achieve by doing this e-commerce or this marketplace? So this is why you need to work on this magic circle to define your idea, to validate your idea, and you verify your idea. Once you are done, then you arrive at something called as problem. Yes, this is what I am going to solve with doing my startup, and that's where it starts. So the first rule is define. So friends, these are the 10 most important steps for everyone to understand and start putting in this direction, so that all the questions of the startup are ready and the investors can find it lucrative to fund it. Now, what if we do all these 10 rules, how it will work? See, it works in this way. So what we have done here by applying all the 10 rules, we have definitely applied effort, but we also applied collaboration. We have used our intellect, but we also used our connects. We had the time and we had a constant feedback at every phase of the time. Like initially we had feedback from the co-founders, then we had the feedback from the market, then we had feedback from the partners, then we had feedback from the customers, and finally the vendors who can come in a big way, they also given us a feedback. See, every time constant feedback has been given to us, and we are convinced that it is a good to go. And when you complete in this way, that's when you achieved your first mile run. And this is possible the best with a mentor, and your ideation is complete. And that's when your business starts happening. That's when the business cycles are more clear and more evident and more happening. So friends, so what are the